Hey everyone, I am back getting ready to work on my second project using this month's cards, tags, and more kit. I am going to be working with a Lori Whitlock cut file, and I'm going to pop up the photo of her finished product, since I am planning on making changes to it. It may not be completely recognizable by the time I'm done. I'm just using her cut file as kind of my base to build on. So I'm going to pop up her finished one right now. That is what I'm starting with in my Silhouette studio. So I'm going to break apart her cut file and kind of try to cut things according to colors that she has there. So I think for the part of the base will be this solid piece, and some of those flowers will be here, and the panels I'm thinking will be coming out of these pattern papers. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. And then I'll use some of the greens that I have for the green pieces, and well, whatever else I have to do. Like this one, even though it has a print on it, I think will work for some of her flower cuts, maybe the butterfly. Just, that's kind of the direction I'm heading. I will be adding in, I don't know how many yet, but some of these 49 and Market flowers. I plan on actually adding some of these Tres Jolie chipboard buttons as flower centers and other little areas. And I do have an idea in mind for the embossing folder. So I'm going to go get all my pieces cut out and then start trying to add the details that I've been thinking of. Okay, I have my pieces cut out, and I'm trying to keep them kind of together while I work on what I have planned for my embossing folder. Now, if this is the front that has the derice on it, this is the solid parts, and the back side is the outlines. So this is the raised lines, and then they go into that. That's how I'm looking at holding it right now. Now I want to emboss on the back side and the insert, and I kind of want to do it, I'm going to try to do it together to try to hopefully get it lined up. So yeah, I will do that. Since this is the inside, let's see. Okay, I know how I'm going to do this. First, the edge here that will show around the lining, I am going to just real quick grab up a blending brush, and this is some Forest Moss Distress Oxide from my stash, and I'm just going to color along the edges here real quick. Okay, now with those edges like that, I am going to actually put this down in place right now before my embossing, just because of kind of what I'm thinking. My back, or my envelope liner, is on. I have everything dry because I want to, now here's the kind of tricky part, I kind of want to use some embossing powder with this. Now, on the back side here, I'm going to keep it on the solids, and on the inside here, I'm going to put it on the outlines. Now I'm going to use my Forest Moss just so you can see what I'm talking about. You don't have to use a colored ink. Any kind of clear ink that you might have will work too. But if I use this, hopefully, and I'm just going to spread it around right from the pad just because it's a nice flat surface, so you can see how that doesn't go into the lines on that side. This side's a little harder, but same basic principle. So there, hopefully you can see how there's a bit of the tint on the lines, hopefully. Even I'm having trouble. And then I am going to line it up, and this is why I wanted this together first, so that they would line up with each other. So I kind of got to get it in place and then close it so I don't smear ink. Then I'm going to go take it over, run it through my Sizzix, and come back and add my embossing powder. Okay, now you can see how that's looking. It's just a little bit extra, some texture to the back of this box card. Now the embossing powder I used was from Lindy's Gain. It is Oak Leaf Olive, and it actually came in the September 2019 Cards, Tags, and More set. I thought it was, it's, if you can see, I have my little sample up here on top. It works very well with the greens in this month's kit. So there's that. So now I'm going to set this aside and kind of work on putting my center together. have my flower parts ready. I'm going to set those off to the side, and I am now going to work on my envelope panels. There's this one, like so, and this one, and then two sides, and that one. So I'm going to glue these down real quick before moving on to putting this together. And because this is made to lay flat, but I'm going to be adding some of these flowers to it, I am going to grab up the paper I used for the main part of the envelope, and I'm going to try to make kind of a bottom for it, and then I'll make like a box envelope or a box to put it in. Alright, for my addition here for the bottom, to make sure it would fit, I used this original envelope here, and I marked how long it would need to be. I went from the edge to the first fold right there, just to get that. And then I used one of these edges so that I could make it the same width. I just lined it up like so, marked where that fold is, the width, and then went over a little bit to make another flap. So I'm going to go cut this and then grab my scoreboard real quick to make those folds. Alright, and there you can see my bottom will fit in there. And I just trimmed these up at a little angle on those four corners just to make sure that it didn't get caught up. So there's that. And now kind of I'm going to start kind of putting things in, but not closing it all the way. So I am going to just put one side of this in like that and stick my bottom on like so. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go through the buttons and see if there's any that I like as some of these flower centers before I have this completely put together. Okay, I have 3 of these buttons picked out, and I am just going to use some gold embossing powder from my stash for them right here. And since I didn't use the little banner that came with the cut file, because there's so many choices in the paperback for sentiments, I trimmed down the happy birthday and then just rounded the corners a little bit there, and that's what I will put on here. And while I have this gold out, I think on some of these or on the ones without buttons, I am just going to use a so I find it. An embossing pen. It's from Ranger, has the embossing ink in it. Any pen will do that is a dye. I think a dye marker would work as long as it's not going to dry too fast. So I think I'll put some gold in the centers of the ones that don't have buttons, and I'm just going to grab up an embossing pad and get these buttons taken care of real quick. Alright, I have just some little gold centers on the flowers that I'm not adding the buttons to, so I'm going to glue my buttons on real quick while it's still flat, and glue the sentiment on, centered there, and then glue the box together. Alright, real quick, I just wanted to talk about, if you didn't make your own bottom, then this is what the card is made to do. So it would just fit in to a regular flat envelope that was probably about it's a little over 5 and 5.5 inches there. And that's what this is made for. The original file is to be folded over flat and then just put in a regular envelope. But I'm adding some dimensional flowers that I don't want to get crushed. So that is why I added a bottom. And by the time I'm done, this is going to resemble a package more, because then I'm going to make just a little box to go with it. Alright, I am going to talk about my box. This is my sample box that I used to make sure all of my measurements were right. So I'm just going to get rid of that. I have the picture on the blog, and I will add links to my personal Dropbox. Not associated with Tres Jolie, but it's my personal one, where I'll have the JPEG, an SVG, and a silhouette cut file. I don't have Cricut, so I have no way of like testing to make sure that that would work. Even if I had the program, I don't know if I have no way to test it. So I do the SVG, so hopefully Cricut users can import that. Alright, I have this dusty purple here that I'm going to use as the base, and I have this in my cut files solid and with a little window. Repurposing packaging, that's some nice heavy plastic. This looks like it was a Sizzix die box, but it's nice heavy plastic, and I will be able to cut it to size and use it to make a little window like that. See? So I'm going to fold my boxes up real quick and cut out my plastic. And, well, I should cut out my plastic first. Well, it's like this. I'll go like this so that I can kind of make sure I have the right size there. Alright, my little envelope card box, envelope box card, I think that's what it's called on the Lori Whitlock envelope box card, is complete, along with a box to box up my box card that I created using papers from this month's Cards, Tags, and More set, those chipboard buttons on here, some gold embossing powder from my stash, and some of those 49 and Market flowers. And now, to finish it off, you could put some tissue paper in here if you're using like papers like this month's. You can't really see it very well. It's not double-sided, so it's just plain white in there. Get a little piece of ribbon or string or thread or whatever you want, and put a little nice little packaging on there. I'm going with this jute. I think it's a thinner jute, just to go with that more vintagey look of these papers. And you have yourself a nice handmade little gift card, or card, not really a gift card unless you put one in there, to give to somebody. I hope that you enjoyed this project and it gave you some ideas of what you can do with the items that are in this month's Cards, Tags, and More kit. Oh, and don't forget, I also use that embossing powder, or use the embossing folder from the kit on the back there. Almost forgot to talk about that part. So I hope you enjoyed this and it gave you some ideas. Don't forget to turn on notifications and subscribe to the channel so you will always know when new videos get posted, when the reveal video comes up at the beginning of the month. And I will see you again next week.